Picture an America where life moved a little slower. Neighbors waved from porches, and community ties shaped everyday routines. Between the 1940s and 1960s, small-town life carried a charm that blended hard work, close connections, and simple pleasures. Today, we'll revisit those years and step into the daily experiences that defined village life in mid-century America. Mornings in small towns began with familiar sounds and comforting routines. The milkman stopped at doorsteps, leaving bottles of fresh milk neatly arranged in metal carriers. Paperboys on bicycles tossed rolled newspapers onto porches, while the smell of bread baking drifted through open windows. From the local bakery, neighbors greeted one another as they swept sidewalks or watered lawns. Conversations were rarely hurried. People took the time to ask about each other's families or share the day's small news. In a world before the rush of constant technology, these moments built a sense of belonging that tied communities together. For children, mornings meant walking or riding bikes to school alongside friends. They carried book satchels, chatted about baseball or comic books, and sometimes stopped to peek into shop windows along the way. That simple walk was more than a routine. It was a thread of childhood independence and imagination. At the center of village life stood Main Street. The general store was a one-stop hub where residents picked up canned goods, fabric, or household tools. The barber shop wasn't just for haircuts. It was a place where men traded jokes, swapped stories, and debated the news of the day. Diners and soda fountains buzzed with jukebox music, offering teenagers a favorite spot to meet after school. Transactions often rested on trust. Shopkeepers greeted customers by name, extended credit with a handshake, and asked about family members. Shopping wasn't about speed. It was about connection. The street itself was a stage where the community played out its daily rhythm. The post office also carried weight in these towns. Families checked mailboxes eagerly for letters from relatives or friends who had moved away. Each envelope carried anticipation, a reminder that even across distances, connections remained strong. Receiving a letter felt personal, almost like a small treasure arriving in the day's routine. Daily life in the village was grounded in steady work. Farmers headed into fields before sunrise, tractors cutting across wide expanses of land. Mechanics kept the town's few cars running, while shopkeepers tended storefronts and teachers prepared chalkboards for their students. Every role carried value, and the rhythm of life was shaped by shared responsibility. The 1940s brought the impact of World War II even to small towns. Families rationed supplies, collected scrap metal, and displayed service flags for loved ones overseas. These years demanded sacrifice but also fostered unity. By the 1950s, prosperity returned, bringing new conveniences like refrigerators, televisions, and shiny automobiles that parked proudly in driveways. Homemakers anchored daily life at home. Kitchens became command centers where meals were prepared, laundry was done, and children gathered after school. The scent of casseroles, pies, and percolating coffee filled households. Though the work was constant, it reflected a sense of pride in keeping family life steady and warm. Small towns thrived on gatherings. Weekends often meant community picnics in the park, fairs filled with homemade food, or baseball games where neighbors cheered on local teams. These events weren't just entertainment. They were essential to keeping bonds strong. Schools also played a central role in social life. Basketball games, marching band performances, and talent shows filled gyms and auditoriums with cheering families. Teenagers looked forward to school dances held in decorated halls, where jukebox songs echoed under paper lanterns and string lights. Movie nights were another highlight. Local theaters showed the latest Hollywood features alongside short newsreels, while popcorn and candy made the evening complete. In towns without theaters, summer screenings on outdoor walls or fields gave families a chance to gather under the stars. These simple pleasures created memories that stayed with people long after the credits rolled. As daylight faded, the focus shifted back to home. In the 1940s, radios were the centerpiece of the living room. Families gathered to listen to news broadcasts, variety shows, or serialized dramas that transported listeners into other worlds. By the 1950s, televisions began to take that place, glowing softly in black and white as families tuned in together. Evenings were about shared experiences. Board games like Monopoly or Scrabble sat on kitchen tables, while card games brought out laughter and playful competition. Parents told stories to children before bed, weaving lessons and family history into simple narratives. These quiet hours reinforced bonds and gave families a sense of security. Life moved at a slower pace. The sound of crickets outside, the smell of dinner lingering in the air, and the sight of children finishing homework under a lamp created a rhythm that was steady and grounding. Though simple by today's standards, these moments captured the richness of family life in small-town America. Village life in America between 1940 and 1960 reflected a balance of work, community, and togetherness. From the hum of Main Street to evenings gathered around radios or televisions, these decades carried traditions that still inspire nostalgia today. It wasn't a perfect time, but it was one filled with human connection and familiar rituals that shaped memories for a lifetime. Which part of small-town living from this era do you wish could return? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear your reflections.